So I think it's rather fitting that here we are in our brand new building. We just actually moved in this morning. That we would have the Diodes as our very first interview in our new building. Given that you guys were, I'm going to say that you were the first punk band in Canada to release a record. I don't care what Steve Lucky and the Violtones say, I say it was you.
No, it was definitely us, and we gave the Violtones really some of their first gigs. The Violtones were definitely at Ontario College of Art seeing us perform with the Talking Heads in 1977. That would have been January 1977. So we were the first punk band in Canada, and certainly the first punk band to perform in Canada.
And you also were the first punk band, I guess, to sign to a major label deal.
That's true.
With CBS.
Or any label.
Or any label.
Well, that's true, yeah, because everybody was just doing all the DIY stuff back then,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
We were about to release our own EP, and we had booked the time to go into, I think, Toronto Sound to record the EP. And simultaneously, we got signed by CBS, who had just been in London for their annual conference, and they saw The Clash, and they came back to Toronto and said, "We got to sign a punk band." And we were there.
It's about the same time, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very close to about when The Clash signed with CBS, right?
The Clash's album was already out. We were playing it at the Crash and Burn, which was the first punk club in Canada that we founded. I'm starting to sound like a real megalomaniac. We were the first. We were the first. No.
Well, this is all about first, because again, first interview in the new building.
And first interview in this new building. This new building is amazing, by the way.
It's a bit scary. We just now found the bathrooms. But
yeah,
anyway.
It's cool though. It's such a great location. But anyways, they came back from England. They had seen The Clash. They signed the Diodes, and instead of going in and recording our demo or our EP that we were going to do ourselves, CBS took the studio time. We did demos for the album. The album was then recorded at Manta Sound about 3 weeks later. That took 2 weeks to do, and then the album was out by the middle of October, ahead of the Sex Pistols, ahead of a lot of the first wave punk bands.
In 1977?
Yeah, a lot of the first wave British punk bands.
Right, okay. And the first single was?
Red Rubber Ball.
Is that, well, there is a Diodes collection.
Mm-hmm.
It is available on CD, so I do have that. And what label was that on? Was it on the Crash and Burn label, or what was it?
No, the Crash and Burn label, we did a single with the Center for Experimental Art and Communication. It was a very sort of art-driven, recorded live performance, and it was the Diodes on one side, the Curse on the other side. And it really was an art record. It really didn't have anything to do with the Diodes rock material. It was something that was different. The first thing that we released, Red Rubber Ball, was released on CBS Records, on the Columbia label.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was quite a scene back in Toronto back then, with you guys and the Violtones and the Curse and the B-Girls,
yep.
and there was this, and the Poles, and this huge long list of bands, where Toronto was actually one leg of a triangle that extended through London and New York.
That's correct.
And there was this exchange of ideas between these three cities back then.
And there were bands that were coming over. The Vibrators came over from London around 1977. The Clash came over. So, you know, there was, well, the Clash came over later. They came over in '78, but there was a huge interaction between the New York bands. The Ramones came up here, and the Dead Boys came up here. The Dead Boys became our friends. We went on tour with the Ramones and the Runaways. Danny Fields, the manager of the Ramones, who also managed the Doors, he managed Iggy Pop, he was their original manager. He saw the Diodes, he loved the Diodes. We went down to New York and we played CBGBs. You know, there was a big interaction between Canada, New York, and London.
You know, what's sad, though, is that there are a billion books on London punk and UK punk, billion books on what happened to CBGB and Max's and Mud Club and everything in New York. Precious little was actually ever documented about what happened in Toronto.
Well, a little bit gets mentioned in John Savage's book, which is the definitive book on British punk.
England's Dreaming.
What was it called, John? John Savage's book.
England's
Dreaming.
England's Dreaming.
Sorry, I misheard you. England's Dreaming is really the definitive book on punk, and John Savage is a really big fan of the Diodes, so we are, you know, certainly mentioned in it. And when John Savage put a compilation album together of songs that he liked, to go with the book, he put a Diodes track on.
I remember that. I saw that record at Rough Trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Notting Hill.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of, you know, we were in there, you know, in the first wave of punk, and we, you know, made our mark. A lot of bands were influenced by us. Certainly younger Canadian bands, but also bands like Husker Du and Nirvana. They have cited the Diodes as an influence.
Let's talk about the Crash and Burn Club, which was a kind of like Canada's version of the Roxy in the UK. Mm-hmm. It was open for only a very short period of time. Right. But while it was open, it was a hell of a place to go.
John, do you want to talk about the Crash and Burn?
Yeah, Crash and Burn was essentially our rehearsal space. Like we had done some art-related appearances with SEAC, who had the building, and we were rehearsing in there. And almost immediately after we went in there, we kind of realized that it would make a really great gig venue in a world where there weren't really a whole load of gig venues available. So we immediately figured out that they had permits. We could do this. We could do it legally, and within a couple of weeks, we'd sort of gone, oh well, we'll build a stage, do this, and it's like a completely sort of like DIY thing.
And all of the other bands joined in. The Vile Tones, Johnny McLeod from the G-Rays helped build the stage. All of the Girlfriends, you know, helped with the bar. It was an amazing scene, but you've got to remember the scene was about 200 people.
Right.
And there were maybe, you know, 10 bands.
Yeah, but it got very busy very fast.
It did.
It was the summer of '77 through to when?
Yeah, it ran from I forget the exact date of the first.
I think it's May the 15th.
It's sometime in May, and then runs through to, I think the last show was around early August.
It was August the 6th, and we closed it with the Dead Boys and the Diodes.
It was only, so what would that be? Not even 100 days.
Yeah, it was very short-lived. But you've got to remember that what happened with the Diodes is, well, first of all, we got kicked out of our rehearsal space because the Liberal Party of Ontario was upstairs, and it was making it into the Sun and other newspapers.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories.
Well,
about
it's true.
Yeah,
it's
I
true.
know.
But we're to blame as well because we said that Maggie Trudeau was there every night. And they printed it, so we kind of got slung out of the the rehearsal space. The people who owned the building came home from holiday, and we got slung out basically, and then. Simultaneously, we all went down to CBGB's, the Diodes, Teenage Head, the Vile Tones, the B-Girls, the Curse, and a bunch of other bands. We all went down to New York. We played CBGB's, a whole Toronto punk weekend in 1977. What could be better? Yeah, and it was billed as Toronto Punk Weekend. So, you know, that was great. We did that. We came back. We got signed to CBS, and by mid-October, our album was out. Things happened fast in those days.
Yeah. They did, because you could turn things around very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, I think communication with CBS was started. Communication with CBS started after the Dead Boys gig,
on the 6th of August.
Before we'd even moved our gear out of the building.
No kidding.
No, because this manager said he wanted to hear demos immediately for CBS.
We didn't have a demo.
We did them. We didn't have a demo, so we did these live tapes in the Crash and Burn and played it for them. I mean, I don't even know what they could have thought of it, but they thought, "Hot dog, we're going to make lots of money here," and signed us.
It's actually a cool tape. In fact, we did the demo with Dave Stone, who went on to be in Rainbow.
Oh man,
right?
really?
And, who was
That's
in?
Right.
What was David before that?
Some Toronto band.
Klaatu.
Yeah, Klaatu.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
And Dave Stone brought over a recorder, and he set it up with the mixing desk that was left over from the weekend Dead Boys show. I mean, it was literally that close. We kind of set up on the stage, recorded all the stuff, went, right, that's our demo tape, and turned up at CBS. Then they went into the book time. They couldn't get time at Manchester, so they used our book time at, I think, Toronto Sound.
The EPs at the time.
But things like so fast. I mean, the whole album's recorded in, I think, 2 4-day sessions, something like that.
But back then, these guys, the labels, were looking to capitalize on what they thought was a fad. So we have to get a punk band out there because there's this Pistols band, there's this Clash band, there's this Buzzcocks band. We got to get something happening.
That's
here.
right. Yeah. That's right.
So, but you guys actually had some staying power. You outlasted the Sex Pistols.
We did 3 studio albums.
3 studio.
Yeah.
So was 83 by the time you were done?
No, 81.
81.
John and I moved to New York in 1981. New York. Well, I moved to New York in 1979. Back again, we recorded and toured until 81. John and I moved to London and England in 1981.